For this past Christmas, I made my friends some little handmade trinket trays for Christmas because I really wanted to do something handmade and I love the concept of little trinket trays. So I made those for my friends and I posted them to Instagram because I was really proud with how they turned out. And Instagram also really liked them. So I wanted to go ahead and make some more of those trinket trays. I also just kind of wanted to play with clay because I actually used to use polymer clay so much in middle school and early high school for me, which is now like super long ago. That's over a decade ago, which is crazy. I made a bunch of polymer clay charms. I was super into it for the longest time. They were basically just like miniatures. I got really into watching videos of other artists on YouTube making them. So in middle school, I got a bunch of clay supplies and I started going ham. And I went ham for a very long time. And then I guess the passion kind of fizzled out for me. So it's been a while since I've actively worked with clay, but I've done it here and there since then, primarily to make stuff that I would then paint instead of working with colored clay, which is what I did before. But it's always such a treat to work with a different medium. When I made the previous trinket trays that I had made for my friends, I really didn't have good supplies, y'all. I got the rolling pin I'm using and the glass mat I'm using from Michael's recently. Prior to that, I was using this really cheap plastic sheet I got from Hobby Lobby as a surface because polymer clay kind of leaves a little film on things you're working on, so it leaves like a film of clay on your hands, it leaves a film of clay on your work surface, and I didn't want to absolutely wreck my desk. So I had gotten this little plastic sheet from Hobby Lobby that I was using as a work surface, and instead of a rolling pin, I'm not even kidding, I was using an aerosol can of Mod Podge, like a spray paint can, as a rolling pin. Because despite the fact that I still have all of my clay tools from when I worked with clay since I was in middle school, I never used a rolling pin, which is the most obscene thing ever. It's not like as bad when you take into consideration that when I was younger and I was making things out of clay, I wasn't really doing things that needed to be rolled out. I was primarily making miniatures. There were only like few occasions where I had to roll something out, but it was nothing like larger than the palm of my hand or even like remotely close to that. So when I was a kid, instead of using a rolling pin or getting a rolling pin, I had a Mr. Sketch marker. I don't know what scent it was. It was one of those scented markers. It was lime green though. I think I technically still have it somewhere. I might have thrown it away. I don't know, a lot of my old clay supplies are in my closet and not my like office closet, which has all of my art stuff in it, but my bedroom closet, it's in like a little fabric cube with all my other really old clay supplies, and I don't ever really perceive those things. There is a bunch of junk. Honestly, I really need to go through it and throw some stuff away. There's like some really old clay canes in there. There's like some little tiny cold porcelain things I made because cold porcelain is a different kind of clay-like substance that you can make at home. And I tried to make it at home once. Did it turn out good? Nope, but I was just a little wee child having the time of my life. But long story short, I'm pretty comfortable with polymer clay. I haven't really used it, like I said, regularly in a tremendously long time, but it's always nice to do a different kind of medium for art, and especially doing something that's not just like drawing or painting or like your stereotypical like making art. Doing a 3D craft is so lovely. I've mentioned it before, but I've gotten really into cross-stitching lately, which has turned into embroidery. I wish I had more time to do these things because I found a few like absolutely gorgeous cross-stitch kits. They are so much fun, but they are so time-consuming. They take so much time. People who cross-stitch huge cross-stitches, I am so like impressed. I am so wildly impressed. It's nice because it's a super mindless task. You don't really have to think about what you're doing as long as you know how many little X's you gotta make. You can just go to town. It's lovely. But yeah, it's so much fun. Just really time consuming, but using like a 3D medium is so, so lovely. So as you can see here, I baked them so now they're completely solid. Before they were flat when I had sculpted them. They were completely flat, but to make them trinket trays, what I did was I just took some tin foil, I crumpled it up so it was kind of in a snake shape of tin foil, and then I took that snake and I turned it into a circle and then set the tray on top of that. So the tray essentially had this disc that it was allowed to sit onto, which let it curve to it so that way it can hold some stuff in the center without it being just really easily pushed off, just to kind of more so emulate the shape of a trinket tray. There's some other ways you could probably do this. If you had like a bowl that was oven safe, that would be a really nice thing because then it would have a more cohesive curvature to it versus these ones, they kind of curve upwards and then kind of fall out, if that makes sense at all. So I use the tin foil method. I don't have bowls that are oven safe. I might. I have like some ceramic bowls from Paint Your Own Pottery. I don't know if those are allowed to go in the oven. I would never do that in case they explode. I went in and started painting them with Arteza acrylic paint. It's one of the only acrylic paints I have aside from like Craftsmart paint, and actually this acrylic paint, it slaps. It does a really good job coating the surface in like one layer for most of what I was painting. Sometimes I'd have to go back in for a second layer to get a fully opaque coat, but it's actually a really nice acrylic paint. I didn't know for sure what I wanted to do with these other than I wanted the heart-shaped ones to be leaves and I wanted the cats to be clown cats. I didn't have much of a plan outside of that, but for the first leaf I went ahead and I did a philodendron Brazil leaf, which is one of my favorite plants. I think they're absolutely gorgeous. If you don't know what a philodendron Brazil is, it's just like a trailing heart-shaped leaf plant, and it has absolutely gorgeous patterns on every single leaf. They're so different, they're so beautiful, they're so striking. So I did that for my first leaf, and I kind of copied my philodendron gloriosum for my second leaf little tray. I had a lot of fun painting these. Something I learned with the first leaf trinket tray I made was just seeing how much my art style came through despite the fact that it was so different from my normal art. It's literally just a leaf, but I definitely saw a lot of my art style in the way it was painted, in like the highlights, the shadows, the brush strokes, which is something that's super cool, especially coming from, first of all, I don't use acrylic paint like ever. It is my enemy. It dries too fast and it can't be reactivated. I feel like it's a bloodbath when I'm using acrylic paint, and I don't really do a whole lot of clay stuff, but despite that, I feel like it is very reminiscent of my own art, which was super cool to see. And something else that I also had to come to terms with when I was doing these was coming to terms with accepting imperfections. With the first trinket trays I made, which were the ones for my friends, I initially struggled so much with the concept of them needing to be perfect, especially with polymer clay. There's so many things that you can do to quote-unquote improve it, because it can always be smoother, it can always be like better, quote unquote, I guess. And after a certain point with the first batch I made, I kind of realized like this is a handmade item. It's allowed to have imperfections. It's allowed to not be perfectly smooth. It's allowed to have air bubbles in the clay. And that in of itself was really freeing with this, because even with these ones, I didn't worry about air bubbles like at all. There's very visible air bubbles in some of these, and honestly I think it just adds to the appeal of the fact that it's handmade and not some mass-made item. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and just being able to accept that I'm comfortable with it not being a certain standard and just having fun with it was so nice for me. Something that's still in the realm of clay is I remember when I used to make stuff out of polymer clay when I was younger. I used to only buy colored clay and just make things with that, which is honestly so much easier than painting it, especially if you're working on such a small scale. And I've wanted to potentially get back into making little clay miniatures or even like small figures and stuff like that out of colored clay, but colored clay is so expensive now. I thought it was expensive when I was a child because I simply did not have money. And I know that inflation exists and everything has gone up in price, like such a significant amount in the last like decade alone. Things have gone up in the last like couple years alone. Okay, groceries, if you buy groceries, you know, groceries are so expensive. I just want to feed myself and it costs so much money each week. It's horrible. But polymer clay is one of those things. I remember I used to go to Michael's and buy polymer clay, a little tiny 2-ounce brick of polymer clay. Pretty sure when I was buying them, they were like $2.19 a brick. And I stopped in the middle of this voiceover to look it up and see how much they are now, and they're $3.29 regular price at Michael's. That is crazy. That is so crazy. Because I remember specifically when I was younger, they used to put them on sale for $1 per brick. Was like the really good sale. It was like the lowest price of the season kind of sale for Michael's, where even though they called it lowest price of the season when that time came, that was as low as they would go, and every like month or two clay would go on sale for $1 for a brick. I haven't seen that sale in so many years. I know I probably sound like an old person, especially if you're watching this and you're in like high school, God forbid middle school. I don't know if I have people that young watching my videos. I think I do. It's weird to think about though. I'm 25. It's weird to think about children watching my videos, which by all means I support you because I'm mostly family friendly. I don't swear much in my videos and I'm just making art, so it's fine. But it's weird to think about. It's a little weird to think about for me. But good God, the way things have gotten so much more expensive, and especially being able to just like look at that and be like, wow, I used to be able to get these things for $1 on sale. And now when they go on sale, it's like buy one, get one half off, which means you're getting 2 blocks for like $4.50. That's not a good deal. That's actually terrible. And I hate it a lot. It's so bad. Everything is so expensive. Art supplies are expensive. It's horrible. I just want to be a little creative thing, making my things. I don't want to live in this capitalistic society where I have to have a job, I have to go somewhere every single day, and I have to talk to people because I work in retail. Oh, it's so bad for me. Got sidetracked, but yeah, I'm disappointed with the price of things. Onto these trays. I mentioned earlier, I knew I wanted to do cats, and I knew I wanted to do clown cats. I, in my brain, discovered clowns a while back, which I knew they existed, but I didn't realize how much I'd like clowns until kind of recently. I love clown aesthetics, cute clown aesthetics, grungy clown aesthetics. They're so good, and the concept of making clown cats is such a good concept. That was such a good thought. I know I'm not the first person to have that thought, but good God, clown cats. So I wanted to make some clown cat trays. I didn't know initially if in sculpting them if I wanted to give them like little jester hats or little clown hats, but I figured I would keep it moderately simple for myself, at least in the meantime, and just paint them to be kind of clowny with just like fun little shapes and fun little designs. And I had so much fun painting these. I don't particularly enjoy the process of painting clay a lot of the times, especially working on like small scale. Like I've made polymer clay magnets and pins and stuff like that in the past, and painting them has always been kind of a nightmare to me. Now that I'm saying it out loud, I do think it stems from working on such a small scale, of working on like an item that's like 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches and painting little details on that. I don't think I'm made for that life. But painting these, I had such a blast doing them. I think because it was something where I could have my art style come through, and I had so much freedom as to what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. I just had so much fun with these, both the cats and the leaves. I am having a blast with. I do really want to make some of the polymer clay leaves for myself, but I want to make them as like little wall decor pieces because I think that'd be super cute. Even if I'm just like straight up command stripping them to my wall, I think I want to make some flat ones to have as decor around my apartment. Depending on how well these are received, I'm probably going to list the trinket trays that I have shown here in my next shop update, which I don't know when that's going to be. Maybe soon, because I'm kind of having a really fun time making clay pieces, and if I feel the need to make like 20 of something, I can just like sell them to get them out of my hair, which is so, so lovely. I just want to make so many clay things. I feel like I've been kind of at an impasse with my own art lately. I've had really bad art block for a while now, and I do feel like I'm starting to come out of that finally, which is so good. I've done a little bit of sketchbook art lately, and that makes me immensely proud of myself. So I think I'm slowly getting out of that art block, but definitely taking a step back and working with a different medium is such a much needed breath of fresh air for myself, and it's been so much fun. Working with clay again has been such a lovely experience. As you saw in the very beginning of this video, I got such a big box of Sculpey clay, which I did purchase from Michael's. It was before Christmas, and they had like really sexy coupons before Christmas, which was so wonderful. So I got it then, and it was such a good deal. The colored clay is so expensive, but if you want to buy white clay and paint things, if you're emotionally able to paint things, because sometimes it can be tremendously draining, then the white clay is a much better deal. I do a lot of the times prefer how colored clay looks, because there's nothing wrong with the look of a painted piece, but sometimes I feel like colored clay, where it has more 3D aspects to it, and personally, when I look at a clay piece, I can tell whether or not someone used colored clay or if it was something they painted, and a lot of the times, I just really like the way colored clay looks. I can't explain it. It just has like a certain look to it that's really beautiful. But one, it's super expensive, and also for what I'm making right now, makes absolutely no sense to use colored clay. So painting it is. Something I also learned about myself recently is that I need some kind of background sound to like fully function doing stuff, which mostly started at work for myself. I was listening to music while I worked for a little bit, and then I kind of got bored of music as a whole, which turned into me getting really interested in true crime podcasts and stuff like that, which I have YouTube Premium, so I can background watch YouTube videos, and there's a couple of specific YouTubers that I really enjoyed watching their true crime videos. And then once I got really caught up on those, I very recently discovered an app called Libby, and this isn't like a sponsorship or anything, although if Libby ever wanted to sponsor me, I would love that because I love them so much. It's an audiobook slash ebook platform that you hook up your library card to, and then you have access to what your library has access to, so you can put books on hold to have them eventually deliver to you when it's your turn to be next in line. And I've just been listening to so many audiobooks lately. It's really nice to have something that's a really long format that I can listen to, because one, it's nice to have some kind of background audio for literally any task I'm doing. I've learned that it's really nice. I've always known it's really nice for myself in my brain to have like a TV show going on in the background when I do art, but now I've realized how much that is beneficial for me to do any kind of task having some background sound. So like chores, for example, I'm much more open and susceptible to doing more and more chores when I actually have something audio-wise stimulating my little brain. Audiobooks have been so freaking good for me. I love them so much. I also, personally, I want to read so badly. I want to read more often. I just like, there's so many hobbies I want to partake in, and I feel like there's just straight up not enough time in a single day. So audiobooks are really nice because I can get not the like reading experience, but at least the storytelling experience, whilst also being able to do something with my hands that means I can kind of do two things at once, I guess. So audiobooks have been so good for me. I've listened to a few in the past couple of weeks here, and they're such a blast. I'm going through the Twilight series because I've never read Twilight before. I'm going through the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, which very good. I've only listened to the first book so far. I am debating on waiting until I'm able to borrow the second book or just literally buying it because I really want to read the rest of the series and don't want to have to wait until I have the books available to me. It's been such a treat to have something that's such like a long form media just to listen to while I'm quite literally at work or while I'm home or doing dishes or doing art. It's been so good for my brain. If you like reading, highly recommend Libby because it's free. Super, super nice. Also, please, I'm begging on my hands and knees. I know it's gonna happen, but please don't come for me for not wearing any kind of protective equipment while I'm working with UV resin. I know I'm supposed to, y'all. I know I'm supposed to wear gloves when I'm working with UV resin, but just really wasn't feeling it, you know? So I just kind of did it with my hands. I made sure to be very careful and not get any UV resin on me. I'm a poor example. If you want to work with UV resin, you should be in a very well ventilated area for both UV resin and regular resin. Be in a very well ventilated area. You're supposed to wear protective equipment for your hands and if not your eyes, just in case. Resin is very serious. Don't follow my lead, okay? Please, I'm begging on my hands and knees, do not do what I do. But resin is something that, for clay pieces, are something that turns your very flat looking clay piece, which can still be absolutely gorgeous and beautiful, into a shiny, beautiful ceramic-like finish that I just love. I feel like putting resin on polymer clay changes it from polymer clay to looking like it's an actual ceramic piece, and it does so much for it. The gloss is something that you just can't achieve with any other kind of glaze or finish or like any other kind of sealant, really. Resin just hits so different. It is so beautiful. However, is it a nightmare to work with? Yeah, it's a nightmare to work with because I'm using UV resin, which cures with UV light, which you can use sunshine or you can use an actual UV light. And I used a UV light. It takes forever for it to cure. It is so worth it, but oh my god, I have to run it through so many cycles of my UV lamp, but the end product, absolutely worth it. They turned out looking so beautiful. I'm so happy with these trinket trays. Like I mentioned, I will probably be listing them for sale, all of them, in my next shop update, which I will announce at some point on YouTube, but for sure it'll be announced on Instagram, so mayhaps peep my Instagram if you're interested in keeping up with that. And if you guys are interested in seeing these trinket trays or more, please let me know. I'm very open to making more for any kind of future shop update. I just don't know how well they'll do because I've never sold anything like this, so I would love to know what you guys think about this. But regardless, thank you so much for hanging out with me for a little bit and watching me make these lovely little trays. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.